I was standing at the back door when I saw her do it. Not the argument, not the raised voices, just the moment itself. Diane reached into the cardboard box, pulled out the small wooden box I'd made for Ruth the first winter we were married, and dropped it into the trash can like it was nothing. Like it weighed nothing. Like it meant nothing. I'd spent 3 evenings making that box. Hand-cut doved, cherry wood I'd saved from a tree we took down in the backyard. Ruth kept her rings in it every night before bed for 35 years. I stood there and didn't say a word. My name is Gerald Malone. I'm 67 years old, retired civil engineer, widower going on 4 years now. I live in the same house Ruth and I bought in 1987, the one we painted ourselves the first summer, the one where we raised a family and grew a garden, and turned the 2-car garage into a proper woodworking shop. After Ruth passed, this house became the only place that still felt like her. That's why what happened hit me the way it did. Diane had been living with me for 6 months. She moved in with her husband Philip after they lost their apartment. Just temporary, Dad, she told me. A few months to get back on our feet. I believed her. Ruth had loved that girl since she was 7 years old, and I wasn't about to turn my back on her. Ruth wouldn't have wanted that, but Diane has a way of expanding into whatever space you give her. It started with small things. She rearranged the kitchen the second week she was there, moved Ruth's good china to the back of the cabinet to make room for her own dishes. Complained that the living room felt cluttered and heavy, said the house needed freshening up. I let it go. I'm not a man who argues over cabinet space. Then one Tuesday afternoon, I came in from the shop and found her standing over the recycling bin in the backyard, dropping things in one at a time. Ruth's embroidery basket, the framed photograph from our 25th anniversary, the one taken at the restaurant where we had our first date, a bundle of letters tied with kitchen twine, and then the box. "What are you doing?" I asked. She didn't flinch, didn't hesitate, just looked over her shoulder and said, clearing out some things. That spare room was packed wall to wall. Those are Ruth's things. She straightened up and looked at me with an expression I'd never seen on her before. Not quite contempt, something closer to impatience, like I was being difficult about something she'd already decided. Dad, she's been gone 4 years. You can't keep living like a shrine to the past. Philip was standing by the fence not 10 feet away. He'd been watching the whole thing. He didn't say one word. I walked over to the bin, reached in, and took the box out. I didn't say anything else. I carried it inside, set it on the kitchen table, and went upstairs. I sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, just looking at the window. 40 years I'd lived in that house. Every corner of it had something of Ruth in it. The garden she'd designed herself, the curtains she'd sewn for the front room, the little pencil marks on the hallway doorframe where we'd measured the grandkids every Christmas. Diane had been living here 6 months, and she was already deciding what deserved to stay. I didn't sleep much that night. Around 11, I went out to the shop. That's where I do my best thinking. Always has been. The shop smells like sawdust and linseed oil, and I can hear the crickets through the side window, and everything gets quieter in my head when I'm in there. I turned on the bench light and stood looking at my tool wall. I've been collecting and restoring those tools since the late 1970s. Vintage Stanley planes, distant hand saws, a full set of chisels with rosewood handles I found at an estate sale in 1984. Took me decades to put that set together. Hunting through flea markets and old hardware stores, cleaning and tuning each one by hand. Ruth used to joke they were worth more than the truck. She wasn't far off. That's when I noticed the stickers. Little white price tags on the handles. $8 on the no. 4 smoothing plane, $12 on the draw knife, $6 on the rosewood chisels, each one. I stood there looking at those stickers for a long time. Then I started pulling them off one by one, slow and careful, and I set each tool back in its place on the wall. And while I did that, something shifted in me. The grief I'd been sitting with all evening turned into something else. Something cooler, something that had edges to it. I went back inside, went through the mail I'd left on the counter, and found the letter from First National Bank. A repayment schedule. Home equity loan, $28,000. My name on the signature line. I had never signed anything. I set the letter down flat on the table and read it twice. Then I picked up my phone and found Howard Greer's number. It was late. I didn't care. I left him a message and told him I needed to meet first thing in the morning. Then I went to bed, and for the first time in months, I slept fine. Howard called me back at 6:15 in the morning. I was already on my second cup of coffee. I told him everything, the box in the trash, the price tags on my tools, the bank letter. He listened without interrupting, which is one of the things I've always respected about Howard. He doesn't talk until he has something to say. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Don't confront them, not yet. Come in this afternoon and bring the letter. And Gerald, start documenting what you can before you say a single word to either of them." That was the plan. After Diane and Philip left the house that morning, I went to the shop and set up my old phone on the top shelf, angled down at the tool wall. I'd used it before to record myself testing a new hand-plane technique, so I knew the angle would cover the full bench area. I started the recording, then drove to the hardware store for about an hour and came back. I sat down and watched the footage on my laptop. Diane had come into the shop 20 minutes after I left. She walked straight to the tool wall, checked something on her phone, and started moving tools around. She was cross-referencing my tools against what I could only figure was a pricing guide of some kind, adjusting the sticker values upward on 2 of the planes. She'd already planned the garage sale date. I could see her lips moving, probably talking to herself or on a call, but the audio wasn't clear enough. I saved the video, sent a copy to Howard, and then called Ned Calloway. Ned and I go back about 25 years. He ran an antique tool shop over on Route 9 before he semi-retired, and he still does appraisals on the side. I told him I needed a written valuation on my collection and asked if he could come by that afternoon while the house was empty. He was there by 2 o'clock. He spent 45 minutes going through every piece. He handled each tool the way a man handles something he respects. Checked the totes and knobs on the planes, tested the flatness of the soles, examined the saw handles for cracks. When he was done, he sat down at the workbench and wrote it all out longhand on his official appraisal form. Total value, $16,500. He handed it to me and said, "You've got a museum-quality set here, Gerald. Don't let anybody tell you different." I thanked him, made a copy of the appraisal on my printer, and put the original in the lockbox I keep in the closet with the important papers. Then I called Carol Nettles. Carol was a name I'd gotten from a letter that had arrived 3 weeks earlier from a firm called Hargrove & Associates. I'd set it aside because I didn't recognize the name and assumed it was junk mail. That evening, after finding the bank letter, I'd gone back and read it properly. The letter said they'd been trying to reach me regarding Ruth's estate and asked me to call at my earliest convenience. Carol answered on the second ring. She had a calm, direct way of talking that I appreciated right away. She explained that Ruth had maintained a savings account that was jointly titled in both our names, linked to a post office box Ruth had kept privately. Small deposits over a long period of time. The account had been opened 12 years before Ruth passed and had never appeared in any of the estate paperwork because the box was registered to a slightly different variation of Ruth's name. One she'd used on a few documents early in our marriage, and it had slipped through during probate. The balance was $127,000. I was sitting at the kitchen table when she told me that. I didn't say anything for a few seconds. Carol asked if I was still there, and I said yes. I was just taking it in. She told me the money was mine outright, that she just needed me to come in and sign the transfer documents, and that the whole process should take less than a week. I thanked her and hung up. I sat there in the quiet kitchen for a long while. The afternoon light was coming through the window, the way it always did around 4 o'clock, landing on the same spot on the floor it had landed on for 35 years. Ruth used to sit right at that angle to read in the late afternoon because she said it was the best light in the house. She'd been putting money away for 12 years and never said a word about it. Not one word. That was Ruth. She was always building something for later, always thinking about the practical reality of things while the rest of us were still figuring out the present moment. 12 years of quiet, steady deposits, a gift she'd arranged before she even knew she'd need to give it. I made a note to call Carol back in the morning to schedule the meeting. Then I called Howard again and told him about the account. He said that was my business and mine alone, and that I didn't owe anyone an explanation about it. "What's the plan for the morning?" I asked him. "You make breakfast," he said. "I'll be there at 8. I went to bed early that night and set my alarm for 4:30. I had a lot of cooking to do. I was up at 4:30 and in the kitchen by 4:45. I made pancakes, bacon, scrambled eggs, hash browns, and a pot of coffee strong enough to stand a spoon in. I set the table properly, the way Ruth used to for Sunday mornings. Placemats, the good mugs, a small pitcher of orange juice in the center. Howard arrived at 8 on the dot. That's one thing about Howard. You can set your watch by him. He came in through the side door the way I'd told him to, set his briefcase on the floor next to the chair at the far end of the table, and poured himself a coffee without being asked. We didn't talk much while we waited. We'd already said everything that needed saying. At 80:22, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Philip came in first. He was still in the clothes he'd slept in, hair uncombed, and he stopped dead in the doorway when he saw Howard sitting at the table in a jacket and tie, cutting into a stack of pancakes like he owned the place. Philip looked at Howard, then at me, then back at Howard. Diane came in a few seconds behind him and walked straight to the coffee maker without looking up. When she turned around and saw Howard, the mug stopped halfway to her mouth. "Who is this?" she asked. "Sit down," I said. "Breakfast is ready." Neither of them moved right away. Howard didn't look up from his plate. I pulled out my chair and sat down and put some eggs on my plate, and that seemed to break the spell because after a moment they both came to the table and sat. "This is Howard Greer," I said. "He's my attorney. We have a few things to go over this morning." Diane set her mug down carefully.
What kind of things?
Howard finished chewing, wiped his mouth, and opened his briefcase. He pulled out a folder and set it on the table between them. Inside was a copy of the bank letter, the loan repayment schedule, and a blown-up image of the signature on the application. "This loan was taken out against Mr. Malone's home," Howard said. "His name and signature appear on the application. Mr. Malone says he never signed it." The color in Diane's face shifted, not all at once, more like something draining out slowly. Forging a signature on a loan document using a person's home as collateral is a felony under state law. Howard continued. He said it the same way he might read a weather report, calm and flat and certain. "We've already been in contact with the bank's fraud department. They've flagged the account and preserved the original application." Philip looked at Diane. She didn't look back at him. "We also had a handwriting comparison done," I said. "Your lease application from when you moved in. The signatures are consistent." That was the part that landed. I could see it. Diane's jaw tightened, and she looked down at the table, and for a moment the only sound in the room was the refrigerator and the tick of the clock in the hallway. "I can explain," she said quietly. "I know you can," I said. "But first, Howard has something else." Howard reached into the folder and pulled out Ned's appraisal sheet. He set it on top of the bank documents. "Mr. Malone's woodworking tools, appraised value of $16,500. Mr. Malone has video documentation of someone entering his workshop without permission and adjusting price stickers on the tools in preparation for a sale. That video is time-stamped and has been preserved." Philip put both hands flat on the table and stared at them. "We needed money," Diane said. Her voice was different now, quieter. The edge had gone out of it. "We were in over our heads and we didn't know how to ask. So instead of asking, I said, 'You signed my name to a loan document and went through my shop like it was a yard sale.' She didn't answer that. Diane, I waited until she looked at me. You also went through the spare room and threw Ruth's things away, the embroidery basket, the anniversary photo, the box I made her." Something moved across her face when I said that. Not guilt exactly. Something closer to it, but not quite there yet. "I didn't think those things mattered that much," she said. "That's the problem." I said, "You didn't think about what mattered to me at all. You've been in this house 6 months, and you've been treating it like a project to manage, like I'm something to manage." Philip spoke for the first time. "Gerald, I want you to know I had nothing to do with the loan. I didn't know about it until just now." I looked at him for a moment. I believed him. Philip's faults ran toward passivity, not dishonesty. He'd stood by the fence and said nothing when Diane was throwing Ruth's things away, and that was its own problem. But this particular thing he hadn't been part of. "I know," I said, "but you were there, Philip. You watched her throw Ruth's things in the trash and you didn't say a word. That's not nothing." He nodded and looked down. No argument, just acceptance. Howard refilled his coffee and let the silence sit for a minute. Then he reached back into the briefcase and brought out one more document. "Mr. Malone has prepared an agreement," he said. "You have 2 options this morning." Howard slid the agreement across the table toward them. "Option 1, he said. Mr. Malone reports the forged signature to the police today. The bank fraud department has already been notified and will cooperate fully. Given the use of residential property as collateral, the district attorney's office will likely treat this as a felony. That process moves on its own timeline and Mr. Malone has no further involvement in it." Diane stared at the paper without picking it up. "Option 2, Howard continued, you both sign this agreement. It outlines specific terms under which you may remain in this home for a period of 90 days. Philip reached out and pulled the document closer so he could read it. I watched his eyes move down the page. "The terms are straightforward," I said. "You both find work within 30 days. Any work? I'm not interested in what you think is beneath you. Retail, warehouse, food service, whatever calls you back first. Once you have income, you pay $600 a month in rent. You attend financial counseling together, 8 sessions minimum, at a provider Howard recommends, and the $28,000 gets paid back. Not all at once. A payment plan Howard will structure based on what you're actually earning, but it gets paid back." "And Ruth's things?" Diane asked. "What's still recoverable gets recovered. What's gone is gone. You don't touch anything else in this house without asking me first. That's not a term in the contract. That's just basic decency." Philip set the paper down, "And if we sign this and follow through, the police report doesn't happen, correct?" Howard said. "Mr. Malone retains all documentation. If the terms of the agreement are violated at any point during the 90 days, the agreement is void, and he reserves the right to proceed with the report at that time." Diane finally picked up the document. She read it slowly. I ate my breakfast and let her read. After a few minutes, she said, "This is fair." Her voice was flat when she said it. Not warm, but she said it. "I know it is," I said. Philip signed first. He didn't hesitate. He picked up the pen Howard set on the table, signed his name on both copies, and slid it to Diane. She sat with the pen in her hand for a moment, looking at the signature line. Then she signed. Howard witnessed both signatures, dated them, kept one copy, and left one on the table. He finished his coffee, packed his briefcase, shook my hand at the door, and left. The whole thing had taken less than 90 minutes. After Howard's car pulled out of the driveway, the three of us sat at the table in the kind of quiet that doesn't have anything comfortable in it. Diane spoke first. "I want to tell you something." "All right," I said. I knew what I was doing with the loan was wrong. I told myself it was temporary, that we'd pay it back before you ever found out, but I knew. She paused. "I don't have a good reason. I just want you to know I'm not going to pretend I didn't understand what I was doing." I nodded. That was more than I'd expected from her that morning. "The thing's in the spare room," she said. "The box, I didn't know what it was. I should have asked before I touched any of it. I should have asked before I touched anything in this house." "Yes," I said. "You should have." Philip looked at me across the table. "What can I do?" "Not for the agreement, just what can I actually do?" "You can start by going into that spare room and going through whatever's left," I said. "See what's still there and bring it out carefully." "I'll sort through it myself." He got up from the table right then and went upstairs. I heard him moving around overhead, slow and deliberate. I poured myself another coffee and stood at the kitchen window for a while. The garden needed work. It always needed work in late spring. And for the past 2 years, I'd let it go more than I should have. Ruth had a system for it, what to plant, where, and when. And I'd kept rough notes, but I'd never really followed through the way she would have. After a few minutes, Diane came and stood in the kitchen doorway. "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead," I said. "The lawyer this morning, the account Carol Nettles called about all of it. You had this plan before you said a word to us." "Yes." She was quiet for a moment. "Mom would have done it the same way." I looked at her. It was the first time in months she'd mentioned Ruth without it feeling like an inconvenience. "She would have done it better," I said. Diane almost smiled at that. Not quite, but almost. Philip came back downstairs with a cardboard box. He set it on the kitchen table gently, the way you'd set down something fragile. Inside was the embroidery basket, the bundle of letters, 2 framed photos I hadn't even realized were gone, and a small ceramic dish Ruth had kept on her nightstand for 20 years. The wooden box I'd made wasn't in there. I didn't find the box. Philip said, "I looked everywhere." "It's all right," I said, and I meant it mostly. "This is good, thank you." He nodded and went back upstairs to get ready to start making calls about work. I put my hand on the edge of that cardboard box and stood there for a minute. Some things you get back, some things you don't. The point is that you stood up before more got taken. The next 90 days were not easy, but they were honest. Philip got called back for a second interview at a distribution center out on the highway about 10 days after the morning with Howard. He took the job without complaining about the hours or the pay. Night shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 days a week. He came home in the mornings while I was having my first coffee, and we'd sometimes sit at the table together for a few minutes before he went upstairs to sleep. We didn't talk much, we're not talkers, either of us, but it was a decent kind of quiet, different from the quiet that had been in the house before. Diane took longer. She applied at a dozen places in the first 2 weeks and heard back from almost none of them. I could see it wearing on her. She'd sit at the kitchen table in the afternoons with her laptop and her coffee, and there was a tension in her shoulders that didn't go away. I didn't say anything. She was doing the work. That was the point. In the 3rd week, she got a call back from a property management company downtown that needed a part-time bookkeeper. She went in for the interview dressed properly, came home quiet, and 2 days later got the offer. She told me at dinner that night, no fanfare, just mentioned it between passing the salt and asking if I wanted more bread. "Good," I said. "It's not much," she said. "It's a start," I said. "That's what a start looks like." She nodded and went back to her food. They paid their first month's rent on the 1st of the month without me asking. An envelope on the kitchen counter with a check inside. $600. I deposited it and didn't make a production of it. Around the 6th week, I was out in the shop one Saturday morning working on a small side table I'd been building in pieces for about a year. I heard the shop door open and looked up. It was Diane. She was carrying 2 mugs of coffee. She set one on the corner of the workbench without a word and stood there looking at the tools on the wall. "Ruth used to bring you coffee out here," she said. "Saturday mornings," I said. She nodded slowly. "I remember that. I used to think it was strange just sitting in here while you worked. I never understood what she got out of it." "She said it was the only time the house was quiet," I said. Diane looked at the tool wall for another moment, then looked at me. "I found the box," she said. I set down the plane I was holding. She reached into the pocket of her jacket and brought it out. The small cherry wood box, the dovetails I'd cut by hand the first winter of our marriage. She held it in both hands and set it on the workbench next to the coffee mug. It had rolled under the shelving unit in the spare room, she said, behind the baseboard. I found it when I was moving things around to clean. I picked it up. The wood was dusty but not damaged. The small brass hinges still worked. I opened it and closed it once and set it back down on the bench. Thank you. I said. She didn't say you're welcome or make a thing of it. She just picked up her own mug and stood there for a few minutes while I went back to work on the table. After a while, she went back inside. That was the morning things shifted. Not dramatically, not with any kind of announcement, just a small thing going right after a long stretch of things going wrong. On day 91, they moved out. I helped load the truck. A 2-bedroom apartment about 20 minutes away, ground floor, small yard in the back. Philip had already bought a used lawnmower because the landlord gave them a small rent reduction if they handled the yard themselves. That made me smile. I drove home and walked through the house. It was quiet in a different way than it had been before they moved in, and different again from the quiet that had settled over everything after Ruth passed. This quiet had some air in it. I went out to the shop, hung the cherry wood box back on the hook above my workbench, where it had always been, and stood there looking at the tool wall. 3 years later, I had a health scare. Nothing I want to go into at length, but enough to land me in the hospital for observation for a few days. Philip showed up before visiting hours even started, sat in the waiting room until they let him in, and didn't leave until the doctor had talked to both of us and I told him I was fine and to go home and sleep. Diane called that evening and talked to me for almost an hour. At some point she said she was sorry, and she said it the way people say things when they actually mean them. I believe she did. Some people need the floor to drop out before they learn how to stand on their own. I'm not sure that ever changes regardless of age. What changes is whether the people around them let that happen or keep holding the floor up and wondering why nothing improves. I chose to let it drop. I'd do it the same way again. If this story sounds familiar, if you've been holding up a floor for someone who ought to be standing on their own, drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. And if it helped to hear it, share it with someone who needs to. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll be back with another one soon.